You can always make more money, you can't make more time. The only way you can have the most quality time possible is if you use your money to buy back your time.
You've been told that manifesting your dream life is hard, that it takes complicated rituals, endless visualizations, perfectly worded affirmations, and a constant grind to raise your vibration. But what if I told you that quantum manifestation is actually stunningly simple?
You think money is about math? You believe it's about hustle. You've been told it's about timing. But I am here to tell you, you're wrong. It is about alignment. It is about vibration. It is about the silent force that surrounds you.
Somewhere deep inside, you know what kind of person you were designed to be. If you want to produce great acorns, think like an oak, not like an acorn. Think like the person you intend to become. Like the Christian question, what would Jesus do? Ask yourself, how would the person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to do?
When people win the lottery, they're often broke in a year to 2 years, probably less than that. And I could never understand why that was. But to understand that, I had to look at and understand why they were playing the lottery in the first place. And what I understood was that the major reason that people who won the lottery would be broke in 6 months or 1 year was because they didn't have the training, which was the very reason that they didn't have the money in the first place. It was by a stroke of luck that they won the money, but the lack of training made them give the money back.
Guys, I used to hate rich people because I thought they had a secret that I didn't have, and if only I had that secret, if only I was white collar and not blue collar like them, that I too would be rich. As it turns out, the way they think is how they got rich, and not so much the pedigree that they came from. Today's episode is how rich people think. And now that I'm rich, now that I've got everything that I desire in life, and I'm very grateful for that, I want to pass along to you how rich people think, because I come from being broke. I come from living in Section 8 housing. I come from being a foreigner to this country. I was as blue collar as they came. And so I want to tell you an interesting story, two very interesting stories actually, that will help you understand how rich people think.
You are living inside a quantum field right now, a field that is infinite in possibility, a field that responds not to your effort, but to your alignment. And yet, most people approach manifestation like it's a fight. They try to overpower their current reality with willpower. They repeat affirmations they don't believe, visualize outcomes they secretly doubt, and force themselves to think positive while their body is still locked in fear, scarcity, and stress.
And that force is what I call your aura. You do not attract what you chase. You attract what you are. Your aura is your broadcast signal. It is the frequency you emit unconsciously, consistently, and unapologetically. Before you speak, it speaks for you. Before you enter a room, it arrives ahead of you. Before you pitch an idea, or launch a product, or ask for a raise, your aura has already negotiated the terms. So if you are poor on the inside, if you carry doubt in your bones, if your self-talk drips with scarcity, then I don't care how big your dreams are, you will sabotage your success at every turn.
The acorn has 3 parts. It's got a stem, a cap, and a seed. And the stem represents its connection to the past. All the acorns, all the oaks that have ever existed in its line before are encoded in that transfer through that stem, the legacy into this acorn. The cap holds onto the seed until the seed's ready to grow on its own. So the cap represents your coaches, your mentors, your role models, your guides, your parents, your friends, your teachers. And when you're ready to grow on your own, the seed of that acorn holds not only your potential, but the potential of every future generation of acorns that will spring from that line. So let me ask a question. What kind of seed is in you?
herein lies my point. In order to live, I won't use the word comfortably, but in order to live the life that you desire, that you can do the things that you want to do, you can travel and you can do many different things, you have to have financial discipline. You have to have financial literacy. And most people that win the lottery do not have financial literacy. In fact, most of us, the way that we grow up typically without having. People are living check to check. Not every single person, but most people are living check to check. And the reason that they're living check to check is not about them not making money. Now, they might not be making 500,000, 100,000, or 1 million, but they are generating income. We know that the cost of living has risen drastically over the years, of course, but yet and still, we're all still making money because this is how we are surviving. We're not thriving. That's the other issue.
3 jobs, and yet I kept running out of money, and I couldn't figure out how to acquire enough money to be able to actually pay my bills, let alone be rich, right? And I remember thinking, man, I'm getting taxed on everything I buy. I'm getting taxed on my income. I'm getting taxed on something that I sell. And it's like everything's being taxed in my life, between the taxing and then between trading my time for dollars, because everything I did as a personal trainer, one-on-one, I was trading time for dollars. And as a busboy and then ultimately a fry cook and dinner cook at Disneyland at Carnation Cafe, I was trading time for dollars. Like, I ran out of time. It's like I had a small window of time to sleep and then maybe get a 45-minute workout in the afternoon, and then I'd have to go to work and then boom, 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 hit all those things, right? So I realized very quickly that when I would see the managers come through Disneyland, especially on Main Street restaurants, like they were doing well for themselves. We heard that they were making 6 figures, and we're talking like this is the late 90s, right? Or actually mid 90s, not late 90s. So think 94, 95, 96. They're making 6 figures. So let's say 100,000, 120,000 a year. The managers that run the departments. I was like, man, they're dressed in suits. They're dressed in like nice dresses, nice clothes. They really carry themselves differently. They obviously are a different pedigree. And quite honestly, I started to develop a little resentment towards them because I didn't understand until later when I heard their stories that many of them started off where I was. They started off as a busboy, then as a fry cook or a host or a hostess, and as a server, and then worked their way up. And it wasn't until they actually understood how money worked that they started to acquire wealth, because you can get paid 6 figures, 7 figures these days, right? And you could lose that money by way of outspending what you're making. I know plenty of rich people, and I put that in quotes, because while they are making multiple 6 figures, even 7 figures in sales and revenue, and they're taking home, let's say $300,000-$400,000 a year, their spending habits are keeping them in debt.
And this is where the whole system collapses, because in the quantum world, forcing is friction. Let's strip this down to something beautifully simple. Quantum manifestation is not about getting what you want. It's about collapsing the version of reality where you already have it. It's not about changing the external world first. It's about embodying the internal signal that pulls that world toward you. The quantum field holds every possibility: success and failure, abundance and lack, love and loneliness, health and struggle. All of it already exists as waves of probability. But here's the kicker. The wave doesn't collapse into your lived reality until it meets a coherent observer. That's you, your focus, your attention, your emotion. They are the sculptors of reality. But most people are caught in a loop. They're observing from fear. They're focusing on what's missing. They're vibrating in the frequency of lack while trying to pull in abundance. And in the language of the quantum, this is noise, not signal. You've been taught to chase what you want. But the real art of manifestation is to become the version of you that no longer needs to chase. It's the version of you that remembers, I am already entangled with the life I desire. The field is waiting for my signal. My job is not to push harder, it's to become clearer. So, why don't people do this? Because simplicity is disarming. Because letting go feels unnatural. Because surrendering the chase feels like giving up. But here's the paradox no one talks about. The moment you stop needing it so badly, the field can finally deliver it to you. Let me give you an example. Think about a time when something came to you effortlessly. Maybe you ran into the perfect person by accident, got an opportunity you weren't even seeking, or had a breakthrough idea when you weren't trying. What's the common thread? You weren't gripping, you weren't forcing, you were open, aligned, available. That's quantum manifestation at work, whether you realized it or not.
This is the law of resonance, and it is non-negotiable. You see, every thought you think emits a signal. Every emotion you hold becomes a pattern. Every belief you adopt becomes a magnetic current, either pulling prosperity toward you or repelling it from your field. You are either a magnet or a repellent. And here's where people fail. They try to fake confidence. They paste on smiles. They rehearse affirmations they don't believe. They act as if but vibrate fear underneath it all. And the universe reads the real signal, not your words, not your dreams, your energy. So let me ask you a question. What are you broadcasting? Because your aura cannot lie, it reflects your truth. If you are constantly anxious about money, the message you send island, I live in lack. If you envy others' success, the message island, there is not enough for me. If you undercharge, apologize for your price, feel guilt for winning, the message island, I do not believe in my own worth. That signal becomes your ceiling, and no strategy will save you until your signal is rewired. Now, let's be clear. Your aura is not some mystical idea. It is a reflection of your emotional habits. It is built through repetition. It is shaped by focus. It is strengthened through mental discipline. You are training your aura every time you think a thought, every time you hold a belief, every time you speak words out loud. Every single one of these becomes part of the field around you. And that field, your aura, is what money listens to. So if you want to attract wealth, stop trying to impress the world. Impress your subconscious. Train your nervous system to feel safe with abundance. Because if your body resists it, you will unconsciously block every breakthrough. Let me tell you something that will sound radical, but is absolutely true. Wealth doesn't start in your wallet. It starts in your imagination. Can you hold the feeling of overflow without seeing the evidence? Can you walk like someone who is already free, even if the world hasn't caught up yet? Most people can't, because they are addicted to external validation. They need proof before they believe. But the wealthy, those who stay wealthy, believe first. They rehearse success in the mind's theater until it becomes inevitable.
See, I believe part of our responsibility in life is to find out who we are, to discover ourselves. First off, we need to respect our nature. We need to realize we are part of a continuing chain that carries a legacy and a responsibility. And if that's the case, then we need to recognize that we were not biological coincidences. I believe there's a creator, and I believe you were intentionally created for a myriad of purposes. There are many things we can do with our lives, and I think it's our job to find out what those things are and to do them as well as we possibly can so that we're passing along the right imprint for the next generation. And that's just simply my life philosophy. That's the way I look at it. So first, we need to respect our nature. Second, we need to know our nature. Take Aristotle's advice, know thyself. But know things about yourself that most people don't discover. For example, know how you're smart, not just how smart you are in comparison to others. In what ways are you smart? Know what you care about. What are the values that motivate your choices? Know what your personal velocity is, the intensity and drive with which you naturally operate. Know the background imprint, positive, neutral, or negative, that you carry with you and what effect it's had on you. Know your behavioral style, how you come across to other people. Know the patterns in your choices so that you're continually learning more and more about what it's like to be you so you can do an even better job of it. And then we need to apply our nature. We need to nurture our nature by expressing ourselves in the world. See, I never expected to be anything but ordinary. I was raised to be nice and ordinary. I expected I would grow up to be, like Dad worked for the phone company. I figured I'd go to work for the phone company, maybe work in an office. I figured I'd I'd work till 65. I'd have 1.34 kids. I'd retire at 65, and then I'd die at the statistical average age for my gene pool. That's what I expected. Until one day in 1972, on the radio in the next room to mine, I heard a voice that changed everything. I was working for the Little Rock Housing Authority, Little Rock, Arkansas, Urban Renewal Agency. I was a government clerk making $525 a month. I weighed 200 pounds. This is 148. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I had never set a goal in my life. I didn't have a college degree and no money in the bank. I was newly married with a new baby at home, and I didn't expect much from life. And in the next room, I heard the voice of Earl Nightingale, known at the time as the Dean of Personal Motivation. He was on 900 radio stations around the world, and what he said that day will forever resonate with me. He said, if you will spend 1 extra hour each day studying your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in that field in 5 years or less.
So here's the deal. What I figured out a long time ago was that the main thing that you had to pay for in this world is usually going to be where you live. That's usually going to be your biggest cost. Take away loans, take away all of that. Your biggest cost for most people is going to be where they live. People complain about the rent. So I said, okay, I need to focus on being able to not only cover my rent, but cover up to a year or at least 6 months if I needed to. That was the first thing that I had to figure out, because where I came from, we just living. Usually your parents say, we don't have it, we can't afford that. So what we find is that we're going through that indoctrination, not because our parents are bad people, it's because they're giving you the reality of their purse or their wallet. So we didn't have it, but there was a reason why we didn't have it. So what we got indoctrinated with was a poverty conscious mind. You think money growing trees, that would be one of the other things that you will hear. You think money growing trees. Actually, it would be better for me to think money grows on trees, because what that would do for my mind is that would let me know that money comes easily, money comes frequently, albeit maybe through a skill set or something, but money would come. But now when I'm programmed to think that it's difficult for money to come, that money is hard to come by, then that's what's going to be my inner voice, because the parent is the inner voice of the child as they get older. This is why many of us have to undo so much trauma, so many different things you have to unlearn. Why? Because the parent is thinking that they're just doing the best that they can. So it's not that they're evil, at least most parents. So we get indoctrinated with what's called a poverty conscious mindset, with the belief that there's never enough. There's not enough. We don't have the extra. And so you grow up thinking, protect, scared with your money, that you don't have enough. And that plays in your mind over time. Or you grow up with the consumer mentality, which is, I'm going to spend. You're spending. Now you're not bringing in what you're spending. You're spending more than you're bringing in. That's the other issue that we have. So you're born into a poverty conscious mindset, and you have a consumer's mentality. You don't have a producer's mentality.
You see, the quantum doesn't care about your words. It reads your energy. You can say, I am wealthy 1,000 times. But if your body is still broadcasting fear, if your heart is still clenched in scarcity, if your nervous system is still addicted to struggle, the field will mirror that chaos back to you. Not because it's cruel, but because it's precise. So here's the radical shift. Quantum manifestation begins when you stop focusing on getting and start focusing on being. You become the signal, you embody the vibration, you let your state lead, not your effort. But that raises a critical question. What exactly does the quantum field respond to? Is it just thoughts, emotions, beliefs, actions? And how do you align these layers so they're not sending mixed messages? This is where most manifestation teachings fall apart. They focus on just one piece, usually thoughts or feelings, without addressing the deeper coherence of the system. They tell you to think positive without addressing the trauma stored in your body. They tell you to visualize without clearing the subconscious sabotage that derails you. They tell you to affirm success while your nervous system is still bracing for failure. But the quantum listens to the whole signal, the integrated, embodied signal. And that's why alignment isn't a mental game. It's a full body, full system, full field shift. In the next part of this journey, we're going to break down exactly how the quantum field works. Why the observer effect matters, what wave collapse really means, and how your subconscious broadcasts signals even when you're not aware of it. We're going to expose the elegant mechanics behind what seems like magic. And I'm going to show you why manifestation works best when you stop trying so hard. So here's my open question for you, and I invite you to sit with this as we prepare for the next section. Where in your life are you trying so hard that you become the very block you're trying to break through? Ready to go deeper into the quantum with me? Let's dive deeper into the mystery you've been dancing around without even knowing. The quantum field is not responding to your wishes. It's responding to your coherence. At its heart, quantum manifestation is not about thoughts alone, or emotions alone, or even actions alone. It's about how these three align into a coherent signal that the field can read without distortion. Think of the quantum field like a cosmic translator. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, the message is clear, the vibration is steady, and the field responds almost instantly. But when you're thinking one thing, feeling another, and doing something completely disconnected, the message gets scrambled. The field mirrors back not clarity, but chaos. This is where the observer effect comes in, a cornerstone of quantum physics.
They build the future internally before a dime shows up externally. That is the secret of energy mastery. And that is how you train your aura to attract wealth. So how do you begin? Step 1, you must reclaim authorship of your identity. You must erase the story that was written for you by broke parents, insecure teachers, cautious friends, and a society that glorifies struggle. You are not born poor. You are trained to think poor. You are conditioned to fear wealth, to associate it with guilt, greed, or corruption. And if you hold these beliefs, no matter how small, you are repelling the very thing you say you want. Money has no loyalty. It flows to those who are most energetically open to it. If your aura is filled with shame, it will run. If your aura is coated in expectation and abundance, it will chase you. So I ask you again, what are you broadcasting? You cannot afford to walk through this world unconsciously. Every sigh, every complaint, every moment of self-pity is training your aura to normalize lack. But every act of gratitude, every minute spent visualizing your financial destiny, every ounce of courage to say, I deserve more, that is how you rewire the frequency. There are no shortcuts, there are no exceptions. This is work, but it is sacred work. Now here's something most people miss. You must not just think rich, you must feel rich. Wealth is not just a number in a bank account. It is an emotional signature. It feels like security. It feels like freedom. It feels like expansion. And unless your body learns to feel those emotions now, you will unconsciously sabotage your wealth when it finally arrives. This is why so many lottery winners go broke. Their vibration didn't match the money. Their aura was still one of fear, confusion, and limitation. And so the money had to leave, because energy seeks alignment. So ask yourself, how can I practice the feeling of wealth today? Even if your account says zero, can you walk with your head high? Can you speak your truth boldly? Can you act like someone who knows their worth without apology? That is wealth training. That is aura training. Let's go deeper now. You must eliminate the people, the habits, and the environments that drain your signal.
Your brain needs to be able to look beyond what you actually see, and to be able to get into a place where you are thinking about, or where you're embodying the feeling of what it is that you truly want. But because we are living in squalor, because we are living in meager situations, we see that and there's no hope beyond that, so we reproduce that. Anyway, what I started to do was I started to pay my bills in advance. So for example, my rent, wherever I'm renting, I pay 3 months in advance. But what that 3 months in advance does for me is it allows my mind to relax, and it allows me to be able to study. It allows me to be able to get into a creative mode. So if you are stressed and you want more out of life, I personally did this. I would save up, 3 months, and I would boom. And my money was still coming in. I was still going to be working, on business, things like that. But I was free to create. There was no stress on me. So I didn't have to think about paying bills. So if I paid the bill in May, you got all of May, you got all of June, you got all of July. I'll see you in August. And that's what I was doing. And I still do that to this day. And it has helped me to create more businesses, to create more income. Now, I'm not Warren Buffett or these people that you see on TV, but I can travel to where I want to travel. I have business. I can do what I want to do, to be honest with you. And I'm improving day by day.
That hit me like a tornado. It rearranged everything in my life. I started doing the math. An hour extra a day, so let's say 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 1,250 hours over 5 years. If I spent, just ordinary me, 1,250 hours studying one subject, I could actually be a national expert. What do I want to be an expert at? Well, it's not urban renewal. And then it occurred to me a few weeks later, I want to do what the guy on the radio's doing. But I had no idea what that was. I just knew it felt right to get into the field of human development. I thought, well, let's see, an hour a day. I'm a government clerk. I've got 8 hours a day. I could do this by Thursday. And then I started thinking about what he had said, and I took him seriously, an hour a day. I focused, I thought I was kind of behind the game, so I needed 2 hours and 3 and 4 and 5. So I overcompensated, and I became fanatical about the field of human development. And in that 5-year period, I went from being a government clerk with very little aspiration to being a full-time speaker and trainer. In 2 years, that was 1972. In 1974, I started buying Earl Nightingale's training materials and selling them to businesses. By 1984, his company was selling my training materials worldwide. They sold $3.5 million worth of one of my first audio albums in the first 2 years it was out. I was blown away. His formula works, and I've seen it work for hundreds and even thousands of people in the many, many years since that time that I've been sharing that message. Think about that. If you were to focus you here, TED audience, if you were to focus a half an hour a day, extra, just beyond the TED Talk that you always watch, right? Every day. Okay, beyond that, if you were to focus half an hour of study on one field of endeavor for 5 consecutive years, you'd not only transform you'd transform the world around you. And we collectively would transform the world as we know it today. You and I were born with the gift to make this a better place. Even if we didn't improve, we could make the world better right now. We could encourage people, compliment people. We could solve problems. We could pick up trash. We could fix things. We could bring new ideas. But as you grow, you become a bigger source for the rest of life to express itself through you. You were put here for a reason. It's contained in that acorn. So nurture your nature. Figure out, first off, I am valuable. Accept that. I want to know who I am, and I want to know how I operate and how can I understand me better. And then I want to nurture that nature. I want to apply myself in the world and put myself to work in such ways that the rest of the world says, well, that's cool. If he or she can do it, I could probably do it. I wonder how they did it. And then we start spreading that, and the ripple goes worldwide. So ask yourself every day, how would the person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to